Hey Dunchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and welcome to my review of the new Strobe Remixes EP from deadmau5. This one is called MAU50100. deadmau5 is a Canadian DJ and producer, although if you don't know who he is, I have no idea what you're doing on this video. He at one time was considered one of the best and arguably still is. Some of you might remember that his last album, While One Is Less Than Two, placed on my top 10 albums of 2014 list, tied with Dylan Francis's Money Sucks, Friends Rule. I'm just gonna get straight to the point. This EP release is absolutely huge, and I figured I'd at least touch on it just because deadmau5 has a studio album coming out. It looks like next month or the month after that. So because of that, I felt like it would at least be moderately wise to touch on deadmau5 before I go diving into a full studio album. This remix EP for Strobe, which was the final track off of deadmau5's For Lack of a Better Name album, dropped around the 7-year anniversary of the album, which is just absolutely nuts to think about. For Lack of a Better Name was one of my very first EDM albums, and Strobe was definitely a highlight on that one. When people in the EDM scene hear the name deadmau5, they probably think of one of the 3 tracks: Raise Your Weapon, Ghosts and Stuff, and of course Strobe, which is arguably the biggest of the 3. Although deadmau5 was one of the first names in EDM that I would actually listen to, Strobe wasn't really one of the tracks that got me into progressive house. Strangely enough, I haven't even come to fully appreciate it until recently, and honestly, this EP was a huge part of that. I just have to be straight right away. My favorite remixes on this EP are the ones that tie heavily back into the original, and although deadmau5 has made comments, because certain people have made comments about the Truise remix saying, oh, it sounds nothing like the original, and although I do agree with that for the most part, I also do like deadmau5's stance on that, where he says that a true remix should sound as little like the original as possible, but in this case I really like the tracks that are going towards the original sound. I'm especially referencing the Feed Me remix on this thing, as well as Dimensions remix. Lane 8 kind of did the same thing while blending in his own style, but that one was probably, honestly, my least favorite on the EP, just because I thought it was a little blander than the rest of them. But I'll be honest, okay, there's not a single bad remix on this package. I think deadmau5 and mau5trap did an excellent job of curating this thing, especially because deadmau5's own remix of the track got cut out of this EP. A couple days after this EP dropped, he released his eBorts version of the track for free, and I actually didn't love that one that much. That one probably, if this would have been on this EP, would have been my least favorite, even behind Lane 8, so I'm kind of glad that this one didn't get featured on it. And instead, kicking off the EP, we have the gorgeous, beautiful, I don't know, there's so many words to describe it, Feed Me remix of this thing. As you guys know, I haven't been the biggest fan of Feed Me's newest music, so this one came as an absolute shock to me. This one for me is the perfect example of what a remix should sound like. It has Feed Me inserting his own production style in a way that beautifully complements the original. The first drop is absolutely groove-tacular, then he goes into a long interlude portion that seems to really be a tribute to the original, and then finally wrapping up into a gorgeous melodic electro drop. Truise's remix is honestly pretty cool as well. It kind of sounds like a Stranger Things soundtrack meets deadmau5, which is a really cool combination. With the Dimension one, I was a little bit disappointed because UKF Drum and Bass featured a really long version of the remix, which I absolutely loved. Featured a much heftier length of the original song, and the version that's on this EP is cut down quite a bit, which was a little bit disappointing, but regardless, it's still basically the same remix, and it's really cool. Just a fire drum and bass mix of the thing. I mean, I think a number of drum and bass producers could have pulled this one off, but I think Dimension did it the best. And the last one that I'm going to talk about is the remix from ATTLAS. ATTLAS is an artist from deadmau5's own label, mau5trap, and I think this one pulls it off pretty good as well. Just a lot of fluttering synths and pads at the beginning, and it just has a really awesome progression. I could kind of picture this one being used as an intro to one of deadmau5's upcoming shows, kind of maybe leading into the second drop of the Feed Me remix. I think that would sound absolutely sweet. But overall, like I said, there's not a single bad egg on this EP. I'm going to go ahead and toss this one a solid 8 out of 10. If you guys haven't listened to this remix EP, make sure to check it out. I would highly suggest it. As always, I have the Spotify link in the description so you guys can listen for yourself, but if you have listened to it, let me know what your favorite remix of the track is so far in the comments section below. Anyway, I'm Landon Remixes, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.